Hi everybody, this is Cans. You may know me as Cans. Some of you may know me as the Art of M. And thank you very much for tuning in to my very first voiceover time-lapse video. As you can see here, I'm starting to block in a very basic mid-ground tone. This is so that when I start drawing with paint, like doing a sketch, the paint will have something to kind of move easier upon and just give me a bit of a mid-tone to work with so I'm not just staring at a white canvas. Now I'm sketching in the face, and I did this by taking, kind of whatever. I think I chose quinacridone red, and I thinned it out with Galkyd, which is a oil painting medium, and just got it to about an inky consistency. And so that really helped when I wanted to get these defined lines and get a sketch in. So yeah, I basically just worked this out, defining the features. I'm not really worried too much about the likeness. I'm really just trying to block in, some light sources as I'm doing on the neck, getting the features in, the eyeballs, the lips, the nose, things like that, so I have something to work with. And it's ugly, it's nothing to look at, but it's going to give me a good map to start with. So, as I said, it's a great way to just block everything in, establish the planes of the face very loosely. As a lot of you wonderful people may know, because most of you are my family and friends, I have been drawing forever. It is Ken's is draw. Ken's is draw. She can't do anything else very well, like math, breathing, walking, but talking, but she can at least draw a little bit. So, hey, stick with what you're good at, right? But yeah, so I started off, as most little artists do, on printer paper and pencils and drawing Windex bottles, my sister, all the time. My poor sister had to sit in as a portrait study all of the time. Then I graduated to colored pencils in my early teen years, and I really enjoyed those. And then when I was about 15 years old, I found a tablet, and the rest was history. I learned how to use Photoshop, and probably almost exclusively for around 10 years, I was a digital painter. I would sketch here and there, but my main body of work was digital. And I had a great time. I learned a lot. It was a lot of fun. But eventually I started to get kind of tired of it, and with technical difficulties like my tablet drivers not installing properly or constantly having to deal with technological trouble, I wasn't ending up painting at all because I just gave up. I was over it. Whatever drive I had to draw was gone because I was mad. And so there was probably a couple years where I just didn't draw much, if at all. And I noticed like a difference in my mood. Like if I don't do artwork, I tend to get really frustrated much more quickly with things. And so that was right around the time where I realized, man, my abilities as an artist don't feel like they're growing. I'm not getting anything done. Maybe I need something else. And so I was just kind of watching YouTube, and I found, some watercolor artists that I really liked. And I said, okay, maybe that's what I need. Maybe I just need to learn something new and get myself back on track. So I bought myself like a little student grade watercolor palette and started messing around because it was very similar to how I would do digital, lay a flat down color, start layering it up with shadows, and very, very basic stuff to get myself back into that mood. Had a great time, graduated to using Copic markers, which were a ton of fun. Still have them, love them very much. And then I started watching Bob Ross, the painter. He's on YouTube. You should watch him. He is fun, even if you don't want to paint. He helped me figure out that I really wanted to pursue learning oil paint as a skill, and that's when I went and invested in slightly better oil paints. I had been using some that I had from college that were Winsor & Newton's and then a couple student grades up to that point, but I was like, okay, I think I'm ready to invest in some slightly better quality mediums to mess with. So that's what I did. I went and bought Gamblin', which came out at Michael's recently, and oh my gosh, did I notice a difference. It was huge. So I am one of those artists who thinks that it's okay to get nicer quality art supplies. It's not going to make your ability as an artist better, but it will make your process easier. You'll have an easier time doing the things that you know how to do, and you won't be spending so much time fighting with the stuff you're working with. You won't be worrying about, oh my God, the paint's not opaque enough, the colors aren't vibrant enough. It'll just cut out a lot of extra frustration. So I would suggest going and getting, 5 colors, black, white, red, yellow, blue, and working with those while you get more comfortable with your practice. You can do pretty much any color with those 4 and get a lot of mileage out of them. So I'm a proponent of that. I think, if you love art and you want to go get some nice art supplies, you do it. You do it. Yeah, do it. So the method that I am using is alla prima, and that is when you go directly onto the canvas with your tones and colors. There's another method called, I'm not even going to try to pronounce the word. Well, no. Basically, you do a monochromatic painting where it's one color and you just change the lightness or the darkness of that color. And that gives you the opportunity to practice your values and make sure you get those established. And then you'll take very thin layers of the colors you actually want the painting to be comprised of and layer them over top. This is cutting out that whole stage and requires a bit more concentration and a little bit more pre-planning than the other one, but I was really intrigued and wanted to try it. And so the other part of this technique, which is different than how I normally work, is I just basically picked a part of that face and I just worked on rendering it. So I went in and that we started, I think, with that right eyeball area, and I just started hashing that in, defining the values, making sure the eyelid looked like an eyelid, making sure the under part of the eyelid looked like an eyelid. And I kind of go back and forth here and there to different spots, but I really focused on getting that section well defined and blended. And this was also a practice to try to get a smoother blend, which was something I was also having trouble with, because it was either I would overwork my paints till everything was almost plasticky and not really realistic and very dumb and bad, and so I would get frustrated and just stop working on it. So this was another practice of restraint for me, and so far it seemed to work the way that I wanted it to. I enjoyed this very much and will probably continue to paint like this for a long time. So I just use a very small brush and I go in, and it gives me a lot of control, so I'm not trying to struggle to get definition and worry about making a mess over a large space of the face, instead of just getting this pencil thin line that I can correct as I go. Most of this stage is just finding the light where it's cast on the face. I'm using a reference from Pinterest. It's an old photograph of what I'm imagining is a 1920s theater actress. I love those photos, and Pinterest is a great place to use or find references from. So I recommend that as well as a new artist. If I can give maybe I'm a noob and I learned this the hard way tip, don't try to oil paint like you paint digitally. And what I mean by that is, when I started trying to render a woman's face or something, I was trying to lay down a mid-tone face color and paint on top of it. That made everything more difficult, and I couldn't figure out why. I couldn't get my highlights to show up, and if my darks were coming through, everything was getting muddy and ugly. Basically, you have to treat this as a puzzle. So if you see what I'm kind of doing here, I'm chunking in this face piece by piece. So if there's a transition in tone, aka paint color, that kind of touches naked canvas all on its own. So it's not getting mixed in completely with the color next to it. And I have control over when I want to make those colors look like they're beginning to mix. So yeah, painting, especially people, to me is a lot of just puzzle pieces. Take those sections, take the time to paint them in one by one, and it'll give you a lot less headache. It seems really tedious and redundant, but it really does make it, for me, not go that much longer, because I'm not trying to constantly fix my own mistakes. Not that it's hard to fix mistakes in oils. That's one of the beautiful aspects of it, is that it's very forgiving and you can just keep messing around. I could mess around for the next 50 years on this face, and the most I'd lose out on is, some time. But yeah, so now I'm going in here trying to define the nose a little bit, seeing where I think things should be darker, looking more closely each time at my reference photo to see if there's some kind of tonal change that I missed or that I need to add in, kind of shaping the nose a little bit more, which is, those aren't super easy for me. I'm still trying to figure out how to lay these planes out in color, but we're getting there. I have a lot of plans for this painting. I have a lot of ideas of what I want to do. We'll see if I can keep myself from getting overly frustrated and actually complete them. I hope so. Pardon me. Jesus. Happy early Merry Christmas to all of you wonderful people that are like me and like to decorate pretty much almost as soon as Halloween's over. Alright, I'm not that bad, but I'm definitely a decorator before Thanksgiving. It's just what I like to do. My Christmas trees are up already, and they're gorgeous, and they make me happy. But yeah, Merry holidays. I hope you guys, whatever you celebrate, is awesome and fun and full of love and happiness. Anyway, back to this lady who's got half a face. I'm laying in, more deeper shadows under the nose, under the chin. And a thing with women is you have to be super careful when you start defining their face, because their structure of their face is much rounder and softer. And so, like, if you try to give the same definition to, the laugh lines around the mouth, around the nose specifically, you can kind of see it here. If it's too strong, it's going to make them look older than they are or more masculine. Now, if you're going for that, that's fine. But it is something to be careful of. You have to be a lot more subtle with your transition and values. And just keep looking at a reference photo. Just use references. Don't think it makes you less of an artist. Don't think that it makes you a bad art. Like, you cannot be a better artist unless you're looking at a reference to teach you how to add things like a woman's cheekbone to your mental library. And there will be a point that maybe you get, we all get to, that we don't necessarily need a reference to remember how to paint that weird shadow that I just added in under her chin, but it helps to have a reference to get you there in the first place. So use references. It takes away a whole lot of stress that you don't need it, girl. You don't need that kind of negativity in your life. Use a reference. And that's what a lot of this is right now when I was referring to softening up. I'm going around and I'm finding those mid-tone colors between a lighter shade and a darker shade to lay between them and even it out, give it some smoothness, make this girl look, foundation flawless. I woke up like this. Her neck's a little gory, but we'll get there eventually. I don't use super expensive brushes. I think the most expensive brush I have is maybe $12, and that's because it's huge. It's like a big, used for big canvas brush. So yeah, I don't really seem to have a problem with those. Like I said, I noticed a difference with the quality of paints that I used, and so it was nice to add those on. And I noticed a huge help when I introduced a painting medium into my workflow. Now, what a painting medium is it's not paint and it's not paint thinner. It's a medium. It basically helps the paint move more easily. You mix it in, you can add transparency to colors, you can help them dry more quickly. It has a lot of benefits. So I use Galkid, which is also part of the Gamblin line, and that helps thin my paint out, make it move better, and also helps the layers dry faster, which works for me because one of the main reasons I was reluctant to start oil painting is I don't have a lot of patience for it. It would be very frustrating and discouraging for me to have to sit there and wait for days and weeks to proceed with a painting, because normally I would sit down, start, and maybe a painting would take digitally like 16 hours or something. But another great thing about the oil painting that it's taught me how to be more patient. I am taking my time a lot more and really working things in a lot more where I wasn't doing that before. I'm focused, it's relaxing, it's cathartic, and I'm enjoying taking in that extra effort, so now it's not unusual for my paintings to take weeks to months, which is good. I'm okay with that. I am glad that I've grown like that as an artist. Now we're working on the mouth, which is probably the most difficult feature of the face I've found trying to render an oil paint. I just am not good at painting a mouth. My brain looks at it and goes, what? What do you want me to do? And I have no answer for him. He just doesn't, we don't know what to do about this. So again, this is me hoping that I'm trying to lay the tones on this mouth out accurately and put the planes adequately. I'm like not super thrilled with this outcome. It's better and less frustrating than I've experienced for other parts, but you know, I'm still hoping I'll get there eventually. Now we're adding in some of my brightest highlights. You never want to go pure white when you're painting anything, because it will really wash out what you're working on. It's better to always paint a few shades darker than what you think. You know, start your midtones out darker than you think they should be. And what'll happen is when you lay down your background color, and that'll be nice and dark, you'll really see that whatever your colors were previously that seemed dark at the time are much more vibrant and much more light than you thought. So it's always better to not wash out your painting and just kind of go, I would say at least 3 to 4 shades below white. Couple artsy tidbits. Light is warm, usually. Shadows are cool. So when you render parts of the face in light, you'll notice that those tend to be more pink to yellow. And in the shadow areas, those tend to be more purple and desaturated and blue, because lack of light is lack of everything. Lack of color, lack of everything. So in most cases, your light will be warm and therefore your shadows will be cool. So you can, just try to keep that in mind when you're painting skin or anything, but specifically skin. It'll really help a lot. Again, just kind of going back in and trying to find anything that I think could be touched up, lifted up, more well-defined, better blended, and just trying to add it in there with also not going too deep. Because again, one of my big problems is I overwork the paint. And so this is a practice for me in learning when to just stop. And it's better that, it's better to just kind of let it be and learn from it than overwork it and get mud. So yeah, the bottom of the nose is kind of weird. This was probably one of the easier times I've had rendering a nose. It's still not perfect. I'm still gonna go back and kind of touch it up a little bit off camera before I start working on whatever next part I want to work on. But this one didn't come out as bad as I possibly could have had it come out. So, I'm not that mad at it. This has all just been like an adventure for me. I just wanted to learn how to expand my art repertoire, and it has been so worth it. And so if there's any kind of art thing or job thing or just any darn thing that you guys are thinking of doing that would maybe make you happy, you know what? Do it. Just do it. We all die. We're gonna die. We're gonna die. Why not die having done the stuff that made us happy? My cat agrees with me. You might be able to hear her in the background. She's rude. But yeah, just do it. Do something fun. Pottery. Skateboarding. Just wear a helmet. But yeah, so I am sorry at the overall quality of this. This is my first time editing a video like this and doing a voiceover. It was really a learning experience for me, but I had a lot of fun. And I hope you guys did too. I hope, even if just by comparison, I have helped give you more confidence in your art journey, because I bet you're amazing. And if this idiot, i.e. me, can get even remotely as far as I have, I believe in you, and I bet you can do it too. All this stuff is just like what I have learned. I am not an expert. I am still learning. It's just my opinion on what I've gained so far. And I just hope I was able to articulate some things that might have been helpful to other baby artists to keep them from getting frustrated from the things that I was getting super frustrated on. But anyway, if you would like to follow me on Instagram, I'll put the link in the description below. But thank you so much for watching. It means so much. And you guys have a great stinking night.